So first, good morning to all the graduates, the faculty, staff, family, and friends. I do want to address, before I get started, the elephant in the room. I'm a meteorologist. One of our provosts is a meteorologist, and we have one of the best meteorology programs in the country. So my apologies for the rain. We could have gotten you sunny and 75 degrees. However, if Dr. Aviles, Dr. Huffman, Dr. Ricardo, and Dr. Miller can raise their hands, that's who you complain to. This was not my fault. But hey, for the graduating seniors, this is probably the last time the PEMI will require you to move your car. So what a day to celebrate, right? Years in the making, and they were filled days with hard work, late nights, early mornings, and everything in between. And it's a privilege to stand here with you today at the very place where so many dreams were created, including my own. Today isn't just about crossing a stage. It's about stepping into the next chapter of your life, armed with the knowledge, resilience, and friendships you've built right here at Plymouth State. First and foremost, congratulations to each and every one of you. For nearly 20 years, I stood in front of the green screen giving people the forecast, not giving life's advice. So speaking at PSU's commencement and offering life's lessons to graduating seniors seemed a little bit outside of my comfort zone. But after thinking about it, I realized, although this is my first commencement speech, I've built up a tsunami of life lessons, a few of which I'll share with you today. Since graduating from Plymouth State in 2006, I've changed jobs 8 times. Got laid off, got married, went back to school, changed careers, and experienced many highs and lows along the way. In saying all that, I know there's no handbook for life, but I'll try my best to share some of my lessons learned with you. Now, instead of quoting Maya Angelou or Robert Frost, I want to start with someone who helped shape my childhood. Some of you probably didn't grow up watching him because production started before you graduates were born. Dr. Burks mentioned him. I will bring him up again. His name is Mr. Rogers. He stood for kindness, for empathy, and the belief that everyone deserves to feel valued, loved, and understood. One of his most enduring quotes comes from a time when the news felt scary to him, much like it does today. Mr. Rogers said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people helping.'" And that stuck with me. It shaped how I see the world and how I try to move through it every day. So here's what I've learned in the 20 years since I sat where you are now. First, life is going to be hard at times, and you'll need help. And that's okay. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. In those moments, find your helpers and surround yourself with people who build you up. Family and friends who encourage you to embrace your strengths, challenge you to grow, support you through setbacks, and celebrate your successes as if they were their own. I've been lucky. I come from a family like that. I've made friends like that here at Plymouth State that I'm still friends with today. And I married someone who's been there for me every step of the way. But helpers come in many forms. They can be found in coworkers, in community groups, through volunteering, club sports, or in your teachers and mentors. Find your helpers. Second, be the helper. Even when you feel at your lowest, remember that someone out there is going through something even harder. If you feel like clapping back or raising your voice or clenching your fist, pause. Fill your heart with empathy. You never know what burden someone else might be carrying. During my time at Plymouth State, I lived in Mary Lyon Hall, and I joined Plymouth Fire and Rescue. It wasn't easy getting those calls at 3 or 4 in the morning, especially on a Saturday or Sunday morning. I'd either just went to bed or was still out on Russell Street. But every time I'd run up Highland Avenue and I'd hop on the next truck because I knew I could help someone at possibly their greatest time of need. And that was all the motivation I needed, even after a fun Friday or Saturday night. Plymouth also helped me fulfill my dream of becoming a meteorologist, a dream that I've had since second grade. My career has been built around helping people stay safe during extreme weather, whether a flood, a hurricane, a blizzard, or a tornado. And did you know meteorologists have a job where we can be wrong 50% of the time and still get a paycheck? To the meteorology majors here, I'm sorry. I'm simply preparing you for the inevitable. And if you're going into broadcast meteorology, it's even worse, because every time you hear that joke from a viewer at the grocery store, an oil change, or even a doctor's appointment, which is awkward, you have to laugh each time as if it's the first time you've ever heard it. And there's a saying that goes something along the lines of telling your story is important because it just might help someone with something they are going through. Remember that being a helper can also mean more than physical service or volunteering your time. While those things are important and admirable, you might also find yourself at times helping by showing patience in a trying situation, holding the door for a stranger, or sharing your own experience to help guide someone through a tough time. It's okay to reinvent yourself too, at any age. You might find at some point in your postgraduate life that life's twists and turns are leading you down a path that you didn't plan on, and that's okay. While that can be stressful, those detours can lead you to some of your most fulfilling experiences. In my mid-30s, I went back to college for a master's degree in emergency management, focusing on climate mitigation and adaptation. While covering Hurricane Harvey in 2017 in Houston, Texas, I realized that there was an even bigger issue I could help people understand: our changing climate. I helped launch the country's first weekly series on climate change during my time in Boston, which somehow led me to Iowa, which somehow led me to change careers, and this takes me to my next point. Fourth, you will face adversity, but stand up for what's right, even when it costs you something. In my case, it was a viewer threatening to come to my home with zip ties and weapons to, quote, shut me up. That wasn't the most shocking part, though. My station management ended up siding with zip tie guy. Let me explain. While working as a meteorologist and climate change reporter at NBC Boston, I was offered a job as chief meteorologist in Des Moines, Iowa. It paid more than probably any job I will ever have. They brought me in to talk about climate change because it matters deeply to agriculture, a cornerstone of Iowa's economy. You see, climate scientists have more evidence that humans are causing climate change than medical doctors have that smoking causes cancer. But yet, climate change has become a political battleground. And no amount of science can sway minds that are closed to it. My station grew fearful that even mentioning climate change would hurt ratings. And one viewer in particular didn't just disagree, he made it personal. Getting back to the weapons and zip ties. He harassed me relentlessly and eventually threatened to come to my home. And the penalty, a $150 fine. Now, to put that into perspective, the New Hampshire State Police gave me a bigger fine in 2005 for hitting 80 on I-93. I had this written before I realized the speed limit bumped up to 70 miles per hour on the way up here, so maybe you'll get away with it now. But you know the spot I'm talking about, right? Between Plymouth and Tilton, you're coming down that hill and bam. Another life's lesson. If you're doing 80 in Massachusetts, in New Hampshire, it hits different than doing 80 in Massachusetts, right? If you're doing 80 in Massachusetts, you are barely keeping up with traffic. All right, sorry, rant over. While that death threat was alarming, my bosses wanted me to stop talking about climate change. They wanted to stop me from doing what I was hired to do. So my solution, I walk away. As journalists, we're taught that every story has a who, what, where, when, and why. And I wasn't going to leave out the why, so I left my job instead. But I also gave up a career I loved and a paycheck that made life comfortable. This is one of those detours that I mentioned. Don't get me wrong, the decision was hard. It was filled with endless lists of pros and cons, sleepless nights, and mental health struggles along the way. And in the end, I had to make the decision to stay true to myself and what I believe in. My story made international headlines, but the focus was the death threat. Not the deeper point that I refuse to be silenced, that I doubled down on my climate work, this time full-time in resilience planning. I promise you that climate change will weave its way into whatever profession you're going into. Business, finance, healthcare, communications, sports, law, everything. Now, you don't need to be a climate crusader, but you all can make the planet a better place. And that brings me back to Mr. Rogers. As you leave here today, ask yourself, who are your helpers in your life, and how can you be one for someone else? Because this world needs you right now. Your empathy, your courage, your voice. And I'll be there rooting for you, just like Mr. Rogers, just like the helpers who got me here today. I want to wish all the graduates congratulations and blue skies ahead for all of you.
Fantastic. Thank you.